not even need Bowers game for me.
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. And today I'm very excited to check out Sword Art Online board game Sword of Fellows. Yeah, that's the name of the game. From Japanime Games. This is for 1 to 4 players. It's going to take about 30 minutes to play, and it's for ages, I don't know, let's say about 10 plus. And in Sword Art Online board game Sword of Fellows, this is based on a popular anime in which you are going to be going into battles and fighting people. You're going to be rolling dice. It's got a Yahtzee-esque mechanic where you're going to get 2 times. You can re-roll those dice, trying to maximize your dice in order to do the most damage. But the bad guys are also going to be hitting you back. And there's going to be different bad guys with different special effects. Each character has asymmetrical powers and asymmetrical special abilities and different kinds of attacks and different dice they're going to be rolling. Lots of stuff going on in this small box. But is the small box good? Let's open it up and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Sword Art Online board game Sword of Fellows. Such a bad name. First and foremost, we get a handy-dandy rule booklet. It's about 2 pages, double-sided. It's got smaller text. It's got some pictures, some illustrations. It's got the important parts kind of highlighted, which I do like there. And overall, it's a pretty well-done rule booklet. You'll need to read it once or twice through before you understand the game. But once you understand the game, it's a pretty straightforward game. So in Sword Art Fellows, this game right here, you're going to be taking control of one of these characters from the anime TV show, I believe Sword of Fellows or Sword Art Online. And these are the 6 different characters you'll be able to play as. You always have to play as Kirito. I guess he's the main protagonist of it. And each one has their own different quirks. Some are better at attacking. Some do healing. Some allow, there's the one that allows people to get back their special abilities, because each one's also going to have a special ability. Some are going to do a lot of damage. They each have their own different quirk. So let's look at one of these cards and give you a feel for how it works. So first up top, you have how much health you have. If you ever have that much health that you've lost, then you die. And you're actually going to level up your character by defeating the different scenarios until you get to the big boss, the end of the world at the end of the game. Down here, you have your special ability. And you'll be able to use that a certain number of times each one of these. And you'll have a little token to keep track of that. So this one is going to allow to change any one standard dice into a 1 or a 6. And that's going to help him better reach his goals, because his goals are going to be to get XXXXX, and that's just the same number over and over again. So if you get 4 of the same number, you can deal 10 damage to the bad guy. 2 of the same number, deal 4 damage to the bad guy. And also, as you level up your character, you'll unlock more and more powerful special abilities. So when you first start the game, you'll start as a level 30, you'll have 10 health, and you'll be able to use any of these 3 special abilities down here. You can only do about 10 damage, maybe 14, something like that, depending on how many dice you have. Then, once you get to level 50, you'll unlock a Starburst Stream, which will allow you to do 16 damage. And then once you get to level 80, you'll have the Eclipse, which will do 27 damage. And you actually have to get that in order to defeat the big boss at the end. And I'll talk more about him later. But each one is slightly different. So she needs 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. This guy needs, there's going to be numbers that are bigger than the other numbers. Each one is slightly different on what kind of dice you're going to be rolling, or what kind of dice you're going to be looking for. Next, you have the different scenarios that you're going to be facing in the game. So the bottom 3 are interchangeable. So as you can see, you'll have the lower section, the middle section, and then the upper section. And those can change from game to game with different bad guys that have different health, different attacks, different this, different that. So it will add a little bit of variability to the game. And then you'll get to the final battle, and there's only one final battle in the game. And you guessed it, as you progressively go up, they're going to get a little bit harder. But also, as you go up, you're going to be able to use more dice, because in the top left-hand corner, it will show how many dice you can use. So right here, you and your chain partner, and that'll make more sense in a second, can use 3 dice. So you'll essentially have 6 dice each time you roll to fight her. But once you get all the way up to the top, you'll have 8 dice to roll. So next, we got all these tokens and doodads over here, and these are really to keep track of your health, to keep track of your opponent's health. Some of them are tokens that you'll be able to earn and give to other people that will help them out, because some of the characters are definitely more about helping the team win the game. Last but not least, we got D6 dice over here. This is what you're going to be rolling in the game, and I'll show you how the rolls work a little bit later. And then each character has their own custom dice that you will be able to unlock as you level up. And the die faces are different. So this guy's got a lot of 6s and a lot of 1s because that's what he wants to roll. Also, each dice is going to have the face of the person on there, and that is a wild number. You can make that number whatever you want. So some nice custom dice there as well. But let's show you exactly what you're going to be doing on your turn. Oh, last but not least, we have item cards. You will get these as you beat different characters. And some are consumables, one-time use, some are equipment, which you'll be able to hook up to different people. But let's just go ahead and show you how the game works. So, on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to see how many dice you're going to be rolling. So, for instance, we're fighting down here. We start on step 1, and I get to roll 3 dice. And then the person that I pick to be my partner, aka the person I'm chaining with, also gets to roll 3 dice. So we both roll 3 dice at the same time. So let's see what I got here. I got 3, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. This is actually a pretty good roll. So it's got Yahtzee-esque rules where you're going to be keeping any number of dice you would like to, and you get 3. You get to re-roll it. So you, in essence, get 3 times you're going to roll. So for this one, I might say, you know what? I'm going to keep these 3s right here because I can hopefully get that horizontal square if I get one more 3. Do I want to keep the 2 5s? No, I'm going to look for a 3. So once again, we'd roll that one. This guy would roll these ones, and it was a very poor decision because none of that is going to help me at all. So last roll, he rolls it up. 5, 4, 6. This is terrible. This is an absolutely terrible roll right now. So what I can do, though, is I can use my special ability. Change one standard dice into a 1 or 6. That actually won't help at all. So, I could look at my person I'm chaining with, and hopefully they may have a special ability that could help you. But for this example, this is actually good. So what do I have here? I have Squadouche pretty much. So I'm going to be able to do 4 damage because I have 2 of a kind. Because as you can see right here, I have the vertical art. So I'd be dealing 4 damage to this person down here. And then I also have a 6. So I deal 1 damage. So I would deal a grand total of 5 damage to this character who has 20 HP. So I'd put a 5 on her. Now, since I didn't use all my dice, she does a counterattack. Now, if I would have used all the dice, all 6 dice that are out here, she wouldn't do a counterattack. We would take no damage. However, since I screwed up, I didn't use all my dice, I rolled poorly, I made a poor decision, whatever you want to do, she attacks me back for 3 points of damage. Now, she also has AoE, which means area of effect, which means she would hit every single person at the table for 3 damage, which is a little bit of a bummer, so we would all take 3 points of damage onto our character. And then it would be the next player's turn. It doesn't go clockwise, though. The person who was the white dice, the person who helped me, it would now be their turn, and they would get to pick who they want to chain with for the next time. Now, eventually what will happen is you will defeat all the bad guys. So you defeat all the people down here, you defeat the step 1, and then you defeat the step 2, and then you get to move on to the next level. But that's called leveling up. So when you clear a scenario, the first thing you do is you're going to gain an item card. The person who finishes it gains the item card. So this one would be the Dark Repulsor. When the item is gained, pick a player that gets this item. The owner of this item increases all damage dealt by 1. So that'd be great. So now I'm going to be doing a little bit more damage if I decided to give it to myself or whoever killed this person decided to do it. Then everyone gets to level up their characters. So, as we mentioned, leveling up means you have more hit points, and it also means you have a new special attack that you'll be able to do, which is great as well. Last but not least, when you start leveling up, you also get your character die. And this is a die that you can use or you cannot use. So let's just say in this next scenario, the person who is starting gets to roll 4 dice, and the chaining player gets to roll 3 dice. So I'd say, yeah, I'm always going to use my die because your die is specially catered to you, so you're always going to use your dice. But maybe the other person's dice is not something that really helps you. Maybe it only gives you odd numbers or even numbers, and you need odd or even, because there are a couple characters that need odd and some that need even. You might say, you know what, I'm not going to use your special dice. We're just going to use the 3 standard D6 for that. And that's pretty much it. Also, you heal your character, and you continue to fight. So eventually you'll beat that one, and you'll level up. So how does the game end? Well, the game ends in a couple different ways. First and foremost, if any character dies, for any reason, throughout the game, except before you get to the final battle, then game over. So if a character dies here, or here, or here, game over. Also, if you are able to defeat the final boss, you win the game. So you either lose the game by one character dying, or you win the game by defeating the final boss. Now, the final boss also has his own special rules, though, which is kind of odd. So once you get to the final battle and the final boss, what happens is Kirito is the only person who's fighting, and everybody else is chaining with Kirito. So Kirito is just going to pick somebody to chain with each time. And you'll see the final boss only has 1 health. So all you have to do is do 1 damage. But here's the thing. His defense is 27, which means you have to do 28 points of attack, which, as you guessed, you do the Eclipse. So essentially you have to get the Eclipse and get a 6 or have the sword, which will also help as well. But there's also some special final battle rules where Kirito doesn't actually take the damage. So, if you screw up and you don't kill this guy on the first time, then somebody else is going to take 27 points of damage. Your partner's actually going to take 27 points of damage. But in the final battle, it's weird because that person, when they die, it's not game over, where normally it would be game over. It's kind of odd, but they do have a special section, which is, boop, just going over the final battle. But that, in a nutshell, is what you're going to do in, Sword Art Online board game Sword of Fellows. Alrighty then, Sword Art Online board game Sword of Fellows from Japan to Make Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, 1 to 4 players, a little bit of a restrictive player count. Also, this game is based on the anime, and you're not going to get as much enjoyment out of this game, I don't think, if you're not a fan of the anime. And that's one of the biggest cons that I have with this game. I don't think it's a bad game. I don't think it's a bad game, and I'm going to state that right now, but I feel like this is more aimed at people who don't necessarily play that many hobby games, but like the anime series. Whereas I think if you play a lot of hobby games, and you're not a fan of the series, this one is probably going to be a pass, one that you can pass on. And also, if you're a big fan of the series, and you play a lot of hobby games, I think this one is going to be just slightly, a little bit too simplistic. And that's one of the biggest things that I also have an issue with in this game. So let's just start talking about what I didn't like about the game. So first and foremost, it's theme heavy, and if you don't understand the theme's completely just over your head, and that's always a bummer. Also, some of the stuff is not that theme heavy. Like one of the lower section fights that you get on is the lower section fight, and maybe that's a tongue-in-cheek joke from the TV show, but it's just like, okay. Also, I didn't like the fact that there's only 1 final battle card, which you're going to be dealing with, and it's interesting. It's interesting that he does 27 damage, so he pretty much insta-kills you, and you have to roll your dice perfectly in order to defeat it. But that's still, I would have liked the variability, because I did like the variability of how you could mix in the middle section, the lower section, and the upper section, but then once you get to the final battle, there's only 1 final battle. Another comment I have with this game is that it's cooperative in the aspect of, you need to roll the dice and I need to roll the dice at the same time, but really you're telling the other person what to do with their dice. It's like, you got a 6, 4, 2, keep the 2, keep the 6, re-roll the 4. And you'd be like, do you mind using your special ability? And most of the time people are like, yeah, I'll use my special ability. It just feels like it's kind of pasted on cooperative game. It tries to keep the other person actively involved, but really it's just, hey, will you roll these 3 or 4 dice for me, and I'll tell you what to do with them? And that was a little bit of a bummer. The kids in my class were like, so I'm taking a turn too? And it's like, well, no. I'm still in charge of what you're doing, but you get to roll the dice for me. And that just felt a little weird, a little wonky. Some of the symbology was slightly confusing. Some of the keywords were slightly confusing. Like, I understood them because I played games like this. So I was like, this means this and this means this. But then when I tried to find them in the rule book, I was like, it's not easy to find in the rule booklet. The rule booklet could be laid out just a slight bit better. I wish it had like a little bit of a glossary for key terms. I think that would have been nice. And it might actually have it. It does actually have that, but there's still some that I did not see in there. So I think they should have included a couple that they did not include in there. Any other cons I have with the game? No, I mean, it's a really straightforward game. You're going to be doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Also, we found the game to be really easy. I played this 3 times, once solo, once 3 players, and once 4 players, and each time we just crushed it. Now, I understand that all comes down to a lot of dice rolling, because this is a dice rolling game. I mean, you can modify your die and hedge your bets in different ways. But at its core, I felt like it was way too simple. There are ways to make the game more easy or more difficult in here, but I don't know. I just felt that the fact that you get to heal every time you level up, and the fact that you just keep getting more and more and more powerful, and you get your fancy dice, and then you get one card each time. I don't know. It just felt a little too easy for my liking. Any other cons I have of the game? No. Moving on to the pros. I'm not the target market for this game. I've never heard of the show. I don't like anime that much. I'm more into heavier games than this most of the time. I mean, I'm an Omni gamer. I play children's games to Twilight Imperium, so I play everything in between. But this one was just a little bit too simplistic for me. But that being said, I didn't dislike this game. I think it's a good game. I do. I think it's a good game if you are the target market. So what did I like about Sword of Fellows? So first and foremost, I love asymmetrical. This one is asymmetrical. 6 different characters. Each of the characters has their own different special abilities, their own custom dice, their own things they're trying to trigger, and each one does feel and play differently. And if you're a fan of the TV show, I think you're really going to like that. Like, oh, this one's all about healing, and this one's all about, giving, bonus multipliers to your teammates so they can do more damage. And I like that aspect of the game. I also like the fact that there's variability in the different stages, the lower stage, middle stage, upper stage. So those are going to be slightly different. You're going to be seeing different bosses each time you play the game, or different combinations of bosses. Would I have liked to have seen more? Maybe these cards would be double-sided or something like that. Yes, that would have been nice, but the fact that they included that is also nice. I also thought the bosses were kind of interesting, that they have different interesting special abilities. Like, you see this one and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy does 99 damage and has a defense of 96. How are we possibly going to kill it? Then you read the small text, you're like, oh, okay, so we have to kill it like this. I like that aspect of the game as well. The custom dice are nice. The components are nice. The rule booklet was pretty well done. Like I said, it could have been a little bit clearer on some of the terms and whatnot, but overall it was a clear and concise rule booklet. The packaging, obviously, that's going to be a perk to a lot of people. Not going to take up too much shelf space. And in the end, I can say Sword Art Online board game Sword of Fellows. This game's not aimed at me. Not my demographic at all. And I still had a good time with the game. I think it's a good game. It's going to be a game that I personally keep. No, it just didn't do it for me. If this was based on like The Simpsons or South Park or some TV show that I know, like 24 or something, that might completely flip the script and flip the narrative. So, in the end, here's what I have to say about this game. Do you know what Sword Art Online is? Board game Sword of Fellows? If you do, then I think you should check this game out, because it's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. And especially if you don't play a lot of hobby games, I think this is one that you're really going to enjoy. Because the mechanisms to you will be fresh and new, and you'll be like, oh man, asymmetrical special abilities, variable player powers, that's cool stuff. Whereas if you're a fan of Sword Art Online and you play a lot of board games, this is more of a try before you buy. But if you like Sword Art Online and you don't play board games, this is definitely one I think that you're really going to enjoy. For everybody else, though, if you're not a fan of the game, of the TV show, game, whatever it is, I think this is one of the pass. So that is Sword Art Online board game Sword of Fellows. I'm not the target market, but I still enjoyed the game. If you enjoyed this review, please sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know. Make a game about your a TV show that you really enjoy. So what kind of game? What's the mechanism? What's the TV show? For me personally, I'm going to go with Simpsons, because it's just ripe with content. I would like a Simpsons Seventh Continent style Gloomhaven style kind of choose your own adventure. Go on an amazing adventure through Springfield and Blooming, the neighboring city, and just running into all the different characters. I think that would be really stinking cool. Like a Legacy-esque Simpsons game. But let me know in the comments below. Mechanism, TV show. Mush them together. Give me a game. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.